Hi, and welcome to crosscountry.aero. Today we're going to take a look at how you can upload your flights to the crosscountry.aero site and view your flight performances. Crosscountry.aero evaluates flights according to IGC rules, which means that you can evaluate declared flights, which are flights that you have declared on your logger file, or free flights. These include badge flights, record flights, or just normal flights that use the IGC standard geometry, such as FAI triangle, three-turn point, out and return, and so forth. In addition, the site will evaluate OLC distance flights, which is the popular six-leg format many people like to fly. To upload flights to crosscountry.aero, just go to the upload flight page, which you can find from any page on the site by clicking on the button on the top right. To upload flights, you can either press the Choose Files button to bring the standard file dialog, or you can just simply go to your Explorer, File Explorer, or Finder if you're Mac, and select the files you want and simply drag and drop the files onto the browser. Now what that will do is it will try to understand what each file is and fill out some details for you. Here you see most of the flights I dragged were understood, but here we are missing one glider model, probably because I forgot to specify in the logger what glider this is. So one way of doing it is, of course, going here and specifying what it is. But if I had more than one, I could simply choose over here what the sailplane model is and either choose to set all unselected or flights, or specify this model for all flights I have dragged onto upload. So I'll click this here. You can keep adding to this list if you want to add more files, but if you, for example, see that if you have dragged the file that you don't want to add, you can simply press X and that will remove that file from the list. You can then choose to add a file individually or click Add All Files, and this will add each file in sequence. One thing to note is that crosscountry.aero doesn't have any time limit for uploading flights. This means that when you join, you can upload all the previous year's flights, which is really convenient for having the flight files with you wherever you go, or for seeing things such as statistics, or seeing what badges you have completed and so forth. Anyway, here, as you can see, all the files have been uploaded, and what I'd like to do here is I'd like to examine each file. And the way to do it is simply click the View button, and what I really like doing is center clicking, or doing the appropriate thing on map, so I can have a record of each file I've uploaded. That way I can look at all the different files I have in one action. Now I can also go, once I have uploaded the files, I could also go to my logbook, which will have all the files listed, and go to view each individual flight from there. One last thing I'd like to point out from the upload menu is that sometimes you will have uploaded a number of files and maybe not all files have been processed from the system. Usually it takes a few seconds for each flight to be evaluated, but if you're uploading a big number of files, you may have to wait a few minutes for all the files to be evaluated. Well, let's look at that actually. Let me upload another file, and let's see, JS1, and I'm adding this file, and now I'm looking at this file immediately, and it says flight not yet processed. So what that means is it needs a bit more time for this file to be processed. I can either go again for my logbook or for the initial link to the flight page, or I can just wait a bit and press refresh, F5 on Windows, and here I have the flight. So here's the flight page. You will notice we have the map, which shows the task and the flight trace, and we also have a barogram. Now, what is really convenient with the barogram is you can simply slide your mouse over it and you will have a quick overview of the flight trace. The other important thing to notice is right here. This is the performance that was evaluated. So in this case, we have a three turn point distance of 2003 kilometers. We also note the OLC distance here, 252 kilometers. Now you will notice that in most flights, more than one flight performances will be valid. And what is noted up here is the top scoring flight performance in terms of points as defined by the cross-country.aero pilot ranking. But you can also see all the other performances here listed by score. To view a specific performance, for example, here, if we want to look at the OLC distance, we just click on the arrow point, which will actually just take us to the Performances tab, and will show us that particular task along with all the waypoint and leg information. You can also go directly from here, or if we were in the Summary tab, we just click Performances, and we can choose which task to look at. Let's go back to the three-turn point. One other thing we can do is go to the map, where we can examine the trace in more detail. Again, here we have the barogram, and we can click on the barogram, or we can slide the bar and move around, or just click the different buttons to go through the flight. One thing I like to do here on the map page is maximize this on the browser, so I have more screen real estate to view the trace. I can also select what task I want to see, and then I can sort of go in and zoom in at each point and have a better view of the particular point in the flight I'm interested in. You can either zoom in by clicking on the plus minus buttons, or simply scrolling with your mouse wheel if you have one, which is something I really find convenient. You can also pan by pressing the mouse button and dragging around, so it's fairly easy to get in and out of. One last thing I want to talk about here is the map canvas. Now, what I use by default on the side is an open cycle map canvas, which is really convenient if you are flying in an area which has mountains, as it has a very nice altitude view, or should I say isometric view. Another nice terrain option is Google Terrain, which you can select from here, or Google Satellite if you are so inclined and want to look at what you are actually flying over in terms of imagery. I'll go back to the default. You can also choose from here directly what flight trace you want to see, and you'll have all the geometry listed here. To go back to the normal interface, you just click back on that button and you are back to the familiar flight page. Well, this is all the detail I'd like to get into at this point. There are many more things you can do, and we can explore these in other videos as well. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you enjoy using cross-country.aero.